I feel like Ghanaian presidents are not on the same page when it comes to how to govern that country and how to make critical decisions that not only affect Ghana, but also affect Ghana's relationship with the international community. Take, for example, the previous president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. He was very wishy-washy when it came to the issue of LGBTQ. When he was alone, this is what he would say. And then when Vice President Kamala Harris went to Ghana, he changed his stance. He said, Ghana is a country that is very constitutional, it abides by law, and it's going to respect the human rights of every individual. And here we are. We find ourselves in a conundrum. A new administration has come into power, and even the sitting president doesn't know the way forward. All he sounds is lukewarm.
We should have a conversation on it again so that all of us, if we decide to move it forward with a consensus. And probably shouldn't be a private member's bill. It probably should be a government bill with governments behind it after consultation with all the stakeholders to see how we're able to move this forward.
Hello there, how are you doing? Welcome to another episode of our conversations. My name is Ondiro Oganga. I'm a business journalist by profession and a digital content creator. I love coming on here, having conversations with you guys about Black people, Africans, our empowerment, and how we can rise up and take our rightful place at the global stage. Connect with me on social media at Ondiro Oganga, or you can be following us on the channel where we'll be uploading more videos. Today's video we want to put into context Ghana and what is happening with regards to their anti-LGBTQ bill, but from a presidential point of view and the implications that could come from this bill. Now, in 2023, leading to 2024, when this issue became such a hotly contested debate, it was taken to the floor of Parliament, it was passed unanimously, and now the ball was in the court of the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, who was supposed to sign it into law. Of course, there was a case that was filed in court, a petition. And when cases go to court, they take quite a long time for them to be resolved. But also, it wasn't just pressure from the judiciary. There was external pressure. And this is where this gets very, very interesting. Why do I say this? I say this because the Ministry of Finance in Ghana did a really long and comprehensive press release, releasing it to both government and the public, saying that if the anti-LGBTQ bill passed and became law, there was going to be dire consequences in Ghana. One of them include Ghana receives funding from the World Bank to a tune of $3.8 billion over a period of 6 years, and passing that bill into law was going to jeopardize that funding. There's also another conversation about the IMF. Remember, I think 2 years back, Ghana defaulted on its debt. The cost of servicing its external debt was really high vis-a-vis the revenue they were collecting back at home, and they were unable to continue servicing their debt while running government. So they defaulted on their debt. And when you default, it means you're broke as debt. You have zilch in your account. And what happened then was that Ghana was onboarded on an IMF program, $3 billion bailout package for a period of 3 years. But again, IMF comes with conditionalities. It's part of Bretton Woods institutions, or rather it aligns with the manifesto and the thought process and the processes of Bretton Woods institutions. And so what happens is that if this bill also comes to pass, it's going to derail the project that Ghana has with the IMF. And this is really important because money from the IMF is buffering Ghana's external reserves, is buffering the currency against volatility. Just to give you a little bit of background, Ghana's currency has been one of the most volatile African currencies I have covered in my adult years, outside of Zimbabwe, yeah? And it's because Zimbabwe has its own unique set of challenges. Ghana's currency in 2018 was one of the best performing currencies against the dollar. How did this currency lose 60% of its value to the dollar? This year alone, it has lost back 3.5% of its value to the dollar. So this is a currency that is up and down, up and down. There's a lot of yo-yo effect when it comes to the Ghanaian cedi. And if external funding is cut, do you know what that means? It means that dollar demand rises. There's no dollars to feed into that demand, and the currency will shoot completely. that means that inflation will go high and people will not be able to afford basic goods and services. Then there's also something to be said about debt sustainability in Ghana. This is a country that is heavily in debt. They're working with the IMF to try and start reducing its debt burden. So if they are removed from the IMF program, or if that program is derailed, then Ghana's debt sustainability becomes a challenge. And also, you have to remember that Ghana is currently in a weak fiscal position. They're not at a great place financially. So all these factors, when you put them together, then it really complicates things for Ghana, right? And then you have the State Department under President Joe Biden, who had said that if this bill passes, there'll be chilling effect on not only businesses, but also tourism. The State Department then, I think it was Matthew Miller, had said that if they try, they're going to feel the dire consequences of what sanctions from the United States look like. And I think the president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, back then weighed all these options and said, I have a year in office, I'm not going to make this my problem. Surely this is not going to be my problem. And he left it at that. So now John Mahama comes into power, the clergy is on his neck, the people who voted for him are on his neck, and they're like, bro, what's happening? What's happening with the anti-LGBTQ bill? What's happening with it? I think for me, if you ask me, and we'll listen to his soundbite shortly. Actually, you know what? Let's listen to his soundbite.
That if we're teaching our values in school, we won't need to pass a bill to enforce, our family values. And that's why I think more than even the family values bill is us agreeing on a curriculum that inculcates these values into our children as they are growing up, so that we don't need to legislate it. And so we'll see how all this goes. And so I'm looking forward to this review conference and to some consensus on some of these issues.
As I was saying before we listened to President John Mahama, I feel like he's being lukewarm. I feel like he doesn't want to commit to that bill. I feel like he's weighed the pros and cons of that bill and he's decided that it's not worth it. And what he's doing is he's trying to say what is going to appease the locals, while also ensuring that he doesn't step on the wrong wires when it comes to the international community. Because all the challenges I just told you that were under President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, he has inherited all of them, and these are just some of the challenges that we know. Governments hide a lot. When Senegal's new government decided to audit the previous government, they found they had lied about their debt, their growth rate, and so many things. So I'm sure by the time John Mahama settles into office, he'll realize that maybe the country is in a far worse state than he thought, and this is not something that he will want to plunge his feet into at the very onset of his term, because it's going to curtail all the good work that he could have done for the country. I could be wrong. That's why the comment section is open. I want to hear what you think. Do you think that Ghana's president is going to see through this new anti-LGBTQ bill that is being floated around? Thank you so much for watching. Again, follow me on social media at Ondiro Oganga, and I'll see you again next time.